You have to understand how things are up here.
Hey guys, it's your ghost John, and welcome to What Is It, one of our 2 mini episodes that come out every week. Please also consider tuning into our hour-long episodes every Wednesday, and don't forget to Google the 21CD podcast and to follow us everywhere. And to check out 21cdstudios.com for updates and merch and links to our other places. Let's get into it. Valkyries are figures from Norse mythology. They are often depicted as warrior maidens who serve the god Odin. Their primary role is to choose who lives and who dies in battles, and to escort the souls of fallen warriors to Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. Valhalla is a great hall in Asgard. It's the realm of the gods, where these chosen warriors, known as Einherjar, prepare to fight alongside Odin during Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. The term Valkyrie comes from the Old Norse word Valkyria, which means chooser of the slain, and Valkyries ride to battle on winged horses clad in shining armor to select those who are worthy of entering Valhalla. They choose the bravest and the most heroic warriors, favoring those who have died with courage and honor. This role is central to the idea of a glorious death in battle, which is highly valued in Norse culture. After choosing the fallen warriors, Valkyries guide their souls to Valhalla. In Valhalla, these warriors feast and they fight and they train daily, preparing for their final battle, Ragnarok. The Valkyries also serve as attendants in Valhalla, bringing food and drink to the warriors, which really showcases their dual nature as both fierce warriors and nurturing figures. Valkyries are often depicted with supernatural abilities. They can control the outcome of battles, shapeshift, and travel between the realms of gods and mortals. Some myths describe them as having the power to bring the dead back to life, heal the wounded, and influence fate. Their connection to fate is significant, as they are seen as agents of destiny, working alongside the Norns, the Norse fates, to weave the fabric of fate itself. Valkyries are typically portrayed as beautiful, strong, and fearless warrior maidens, often with blonde or red hair and clad in armor. They ride flying horses or wolves and wield weapons like spears and shields. They are both the protectors and fierce combatants on the battlefield, symbolizing the Norse ideals of bravery, strength, and martial prowess. Despite their martial nature, they also embody a certain grace and otherworldly beauty. Valkyries have connections to death and the magical aspects of battle. They are linked to the raven and the wolf, animals associated with death and warfare in Norse mythology. Ravens in particular are seen as symbols of Odin, and some tales describe Valkyries transforming into these birds. In addition, Valkyries are sometimes described as being able to use powerful charms or runes, which are symbols that are thought to have magical properties in Norse belief. In some Norse sagas, Valkyries are also depicted in more personal and tragic roles. They often fall in love with mortal men, leading to complicated relationships where their duties as Valkyries conflict with their love for humans. For example, the famous Valkyrie Brunhilde is central to the Volsunga saga and Wagner's opera cycle Der Ring des Nibelungen. Her love for the hero Sigurd leads to a tragic series of events, blending themes of love, betrayal, and fate. Valkyries are closely associated with Odin, the Allfather, and the chief of the Norse gods. They serve him in battle by collecting worthy souls to join his army in preparation for Ragnarok. They are often seen as his loyal servants, reflecting a complex nature as both a god of war and a god of wisdom and poetry. Odin's connection with Valkyries showcases his role in determining fate, as he is deeply involved in cosmic balance and maintaining it between order and chaos. Brunhilde is one of the most famous Valkyries in Norse mythology. We mentioned her before. She's also known as Brynhildr, if you don't recognize the name. She's known for her tragic love story with the hero, Sigurd. She was a Valkyrie who defied Odin's will and was punished by being placed into a deep sleep surrounded by a wall of fire. Only a brave hero could awaken her, of course, and who better than Sigurd? He eventually finds and awakens her, but their love ends in betrayal, tragedy, and death. Brunhilde's tale is featured prominently in the Volsunga saga, and has been adapted in various works. Sigrun is a Valkyrie mentioned in the Poetic Edda and the poem Helkakvida Hundingsbana. She falls in love with the hero Helgi Hundingsbane and chooses to be with him, defying the wishes of her father, of course, and her betrothed. Sigrun aids Helgi in battle, using her Valkyrie powers to help him defeat his enemy. Their story, of course, also ends tragically, as Helgi is eventually killed, and then Sigrun dies of grief. Hildr, whose name means battle, is another Valkyrie featured in several myths and tales. In one story, she is a daughter of King Hogni and is said to have the ability to revive fallen warriors. She perpetuates this eternal battle between her father and her lover, Hedin, constantly resurrecting the warriors so that the battle continues without end. Her name is a common element in the names of other Valkyries, reflecting the warlike aspect of their nature in all things. Gondul and Skogul are two Valkyries named in the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. They're portrayed as fierce warriors who serve Odin directly, choosing who will die in battle and who will live. They are said to appear on battles as omens, with their presence signifying the influence of fate. Valkyries represent the Norse warrior ideal and the culture's respect for a heroic death in battle, and their role in selecting the slain reflects the Norse belief in fate and the importance of honor in death. They embody both the beauty and the brutality of war, serving as reminders of both glory and the inevitability of death. As agents of fate, Valkyries underscore the Norse worldview that sees life as a series of predetermined events leading to some unavoidable end. And this reflects a lot of worldviews across a lot of religions. They are closely associated with the concept of word, fate, how things turn out, and the cosmic order maintained by the gods. Valkyries are often depicted as strong, independent female figures who operate outside the typical social norms of Norse society. They are warriors and leaders and decision makers, which makes them unique compared to many other mythological female figures. Valkyries have continued to captivate our imagination too, even to this present day. They appear in various forms of literature, music, film, and popular culture. Valkyries are even featured in fantasy novels, comic books like Marvel's Valkyrie, who's a character that is a part of the Asgardian mythos. They're in video games where they are often portrayed as fierce warrior women or guardians. Of course, Richard Wagner's The Ride of the Valkyries also pays dues to the Valkyries of Norse mythology. It is perhaps one of the most famous musical pieces associated with Valkyries. Depending on your religion, you may or may not believe in the existence of Valkyries, depending on what you believe. They might be something else in your belief set, in your worldview. Whereas Norwegians or Icelanders or whoever believes in the Norse mythology and Asatru as their religion, they might see Valkyries as legitimate things. You might have a different name for them. So the question, are Valkyries still around today, could be asked any number of other ways as well. Are these beings still around today? Where are they? If they existed, Valkyries might still exist, but they operate in ways that make them nearly invisible to modern human perception. In this view, they could continue their ancient role of guiding souls and influencing battles, but they do so in a way that remains hidden from most people. They might have adapted to modern times by taking on new forms or disguising themselves as ordinary humans. Perhaps they exist among us, appearing only to those who are near death or in moments of profound crisis, still serving as agents of fate and destiny. Another possibility is that Valkyries have withdrawn to an alternate realm such as Asgard, the home of these Norse gods, or a similar mystical plane that is no longer easily accessible from the human world. According to Norse mythology, the gods and their servants exist in parallel worlds, connected to our own by the world tree, Yggdrasil. The Valkyries still exist. They could be continuing their duties in these realms, choosing souls for Valhalla, or preparing for the events of Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. Valkyries might still exist, but have evolved with the times then. Just as human societies have changed dramatically over the centuries, these beings could have adapted their roles or their forms. They might no longer appear as armored warrior maidens because we don't translate to that. They might not come on flying horses. Maybe it's a Porsche instead. But instead of taking on these roles that we don't recognize in these modern times, they align with modern understandings. They could manifest as intangible forces, guides, or guardians that shape crucial moments in people's lives, influencing their decisions and outcomes, or even major world events from behind the scenes, all in a form that is unrecognizable. In many traditions, the existence of supernatural beings is tied to human belief in them. If Valkyries were ever real, their continued existence might depend on whether people still believe in them or tell stories about them. Another idea is that Valkyries have taken on new roles as protectors of the unknown, the lost, or the forgotten. They may be drawn to battlefields or places where people experience great suffering or bravery, still choosing those who are worthy to join them in the afterlife. In Norse mythology, the Valkyries are closely associated with Ragnarok. If Valkyries still exist, they may be waiting for the moment when their role in this ultimate confrontation is needed. They could be preparing for that final battle, ready to escort the souls of heroes once again when the end times approach. Until then, they might remain in a state of readiness, hidden from the mortal world. And if Valkyries are considered real but elusive, they could inhabit the liminal spaces where myth and reality intersect. They might dwell in places where the boundaries between worlds are thin. Valkyries are neither fully present in our world then, nor entirely absent. They exist in those mysterious, kind of unexplainable moments when when the hair stands up on the back of your neck, or when life feels like touched by the extraordinary or the unknown, and you can't really explain how. If they still exist, finding evidence of them would be pretty challenging when you think about it. How do you find a spirit? Signs might be subtle, such as strange occurrences on battlefields or moments when someone narrowly escapes death in inexplicable ways, or reports of mysterious warrior-like women seen just before or after significant events. So whether or not Valkyries still exist as actual beings, they do remain powerful symbols in mythology and culture, and they could exist in a parallel realm as something else that is real. On the 21 CD podcast, we connect all the dots, and we see that in the end it appears that most stories are the same. Most religions tell kind of the same story, with the same things happening in it. Therefore, whereas those who follow religions that glorify the Norse gods will believe in Valkyries, Christians may believe in angels. It could be something else entirely, depending on what you believe. Listen, guys, I had a fantastic time talking about the Valkyries with you. I want you to remember to not drink the water and question everything.